The first time Madeline Cross told me to use the service elevator, my son was standing beside me with a cardboard rocket ship in his hands. It was 7:18 on a Friday evening. The lobby of the Ashford Grand Hotel was full of crystal light, black suits, white orchids, and people who looked like they had never carried their own luggage twice in one day. I stood near the marble reception desk in a faded work jacket, holding a small leather tool roll under one arm. My 11-year-old son, Ethan, stood beside me in his school blazer, trying to protect a model rocket he had built from cereal boxes, tape, and more hope than engineering. We were there because the hotel had called me. Not because I wanted to be there. Not because I belonged among champagne glasses and gold name tags. Because the old service elevator behind the East Ballroom had stopped between floors, and inside that elevator was a locked, fireproof case the hotel needed before its charity gala began. That was all they told me. A stuck elevator. A locked case. Emergency repair. Then Madeline Cross walked across the lobby in a silver dress and looked at my boots. Not my face. My boots. Then my jacket. Then Ethan's cardboard rocket. Her mouth barely moved when she said it. Maintenance uses the back entrance. A man behind her laughed into his glass. Her assistant looked uncomfortable. Ethan lowered the rocket slightly. I said, I was called for the East Service elevator. Madeline turned to the hotel manager. Why is he standing in the lobby? The manager swallowed. Miss Cross, Mr. Bennett is the technician Mr. Ashford requested. Her eyebrows lifted. This man. I did not answer. I had learned a long time ago that when people decide you are small, explaining yourself only gives them more words to step on. Ethan looked up at me. Dad, we can wait outside. That hurt more than anything Madeline said, because my son had learned too early that silence was sometimes safer than dignity. I put one hand gently on his shoulder. We are not outside people, I said. Madeline heard that. Her face hardened. Before she could speak, the lights above the ballroom flickered. Once, twice. Then every elevator panel in the lobby went dark. A high, sharp alarm cut through the music. Someone screamed from the direction of the East Corridor. The hotel manager's radio cracked. East Service elevator just dropped half a floor. Case team is trapped. We have one person injured. The lobby froze. Madeline Cross turned pale. For the first time, she looked at me as if I might be something other than an inconvenience. I handed Ethan the tool roll. Stay with the manager. He gripped it with both hands. Dad? I'll be right back. Madeline stepped in front of me. My father is in that elevator. Now I understood. The locked fireproof case was not the emergency. The man trapped beside it was Madeline's father, Arthur Cross, founder of Cross Meridian Holdings, 82 years old, billionaire, hotel owner, and the reason every camera in the lobby had been pointing toward the ballroom that night. She grabbed my sleeve. Can you get him out? I looked down at her hand, then at her face. 10 seconds earlier, I was not supposed to use the front door. Now I was supposed to save her father. That is how quickly people remember your humanity when they need your hands. I pulled my sleeve free. I can try. My name is Nathan Bennett. I am 40 years old. I am a single father. I live with my son, Ethan, in a 2-bedroom apartment above Bennett Lift and Lock, a small repair shop in Newark, New Jersey. I fix elevators, freight lifts, old hotel dumbwaiters, commercial locks, safe doors, panic bars, security gates, and anything else heavy enough to hurt someone when rich people ignore maintenance. My wife, Claire, died 6 years ago. A drunk driver? A wet road. One phone call that split my life into before and after. Ethan was 5. For months after the funeral, he carried one of her scarves everywhere because it still smelled like her shampoo. I worked too much because bills do not pause for grief. Then one night, Ethan fell asleep on the floor of my shop beside a toolbox, and I realized I had started measuring fatherhood by whether I kept the lights on. So I changed. I took fewer contracts. I charged fair, not desperate. I picked him up from school myself whenever I could. And every Friday, no matter what, Ethan and I had our night. Pizza, library, old sci-fi movies, or, on that particular Friday, his school invention fair. That was why he had the cardboard rocket. He had won second place. He said second place was better than first because first place has nowhere to improve. We were walking home when my phone rang. The Ashford Grand emergency service call, triple rate, 90 minutes maximum. I almost declined. Then Ethan said, "Is it an elevator?" "Yes." "Can I watch?" "No." "Can I stand very far away and pretend I am watching?" That is how we ended up in the lobby being judged by Madeline Cross. The East Service corridor was narrow and hot. Hotel staff crowded near the elevator doors, pale and useless with panic. The elevator had stopped between the ballroom level and the service mezzanine. Not a full drop. A brake catch. But an old one. The kind of system that works perfectly for 40 years and then fails all at once because someone decided maintenance was an expense instead of a promise. I knelt beside the control panel. Madeline stood behind me. "Why aren't the emergency crews here yet?" "They will be, but if your father is injured, waiting may not be your best plan." The manager whispered, "Mr. Cross has a heart condition." Madeline closed her eyes. I opened the panel. The wiring was old, but familiar. Too familiar. Ashford Grand had installed a Croswell-Lambert lift system in 1984. I knew because my father had serviced them for 30 years. And because I had spent 3 years investigating one particular Croswell-Lambert failure that killed 2 workers and bankrupted the wrong man. My father. That was the part nobody in that hallway knew. The Cross family had once owned the company that made the lift system. When a warehouse elevator failed in 2009, Croswell-Lambert blamed the service contractor. Bennett Lift Maintenance. My father's company. They said he had skipped a brake replacement. They said his negligence caused the accident. He lost the contract. Then the business. Then the house. Then, eventually, his health. He died insisting he had filed the replacement order and that Croswell had shipped a defective brake assembly. Nobody believed him. I believed him. But belief is not evidence. For years, I kept copies of every old work order, every maintenance note, every serial number he saved in boxes no one else wanted. Then I built my own shop and tried to leave the past alone. The past rarely stays where you put it. Inside the Ashford Grand panel, I saw a serial stamp. CL-84B. My hand stopped. That model had been recalled in internal technical bulletins. Never publicly. Never fully. I knew because my father had kept one unsigned draft bulletin in a folder labeled "Do Not Throw Away." And now that same brake system was holding Arthur Cross between floors with his daughter behind me and half of Manhattan's charity elite waiting in the ballroom. I looked at the manager. When was this brake assembly last inspected? Last month, he said quickly. By whom? He hesitated. Cross Meridian Facilities. Madeline snapped. We own the building. Of course our team inspected it. I removed the secondary cover. A small metal tag fell into my palm. The inspection seal had been replaced. Fresh adhesive. Old housing. Wrong screw pattern. Someone had opened the assembly recently. Not to fix it. To hide something. From inside the elevator shaft, a man groaned. Madeline stepped closer. Dad? A weak voice answered. Maddie? Her face broke for half a second. Not CEO. Not heiress. Just daughter. I worked faster. I bypassed the jammed circuit, locked the brake manually, and opened the lower door gap. 2 hotel employees helped me force the outer doors apart. The elevator floor sat 3 feet above the landing. Inside, Arthur Cross leaned against the wall, gray-faced, one hand pressed to his chest. Beside him was a younger man holding a black fireproof case. The young man looked terrified. Arthur did not look at Madeline first. He looked at me, at my face, then at the name stitched on my jacket, Bennett. His eyes sharpened. Thomas Bennett's boy? The corridor went silent. Madeline looked from him to me. You know him? Arthur gave a bitter little laugh that turned into a cough. His father tried to warn us. I climbed in and helped the medics pull him out when they arrived. Madeline kept asking what he meant. Arthur would not answer until he was seated in a private office with oxygen, a doctor, his daughter, me, and the fireproof case on the table. He pointed at the case. Open it, the young assistant said. Mr. Cross, the gala announcement. Arthur cut him off. Open it now. Inside were documents. Not donation papers. Not charity pledges. Old documents. Copies of technical bulletins. Internal memos. Shipping records. Brake failure reports. And one signed letter from 2009. Addressed to Thomas Bennett? My father... Arthur's hand shook as he lifted it. I wrote this, he said. I never sent it. My throat tightened. Madeline whispered, Dad, what is this? Arthur looked at her. The truth I buried. Then he told us. In 2009, Croswell-Lambert engineers discovered that the CL-84B brake assembly had a casting weakness under certain load conditions. My father had reported the issue before the warehouse accident. He had requested replacement parts. The request was logged. The parts were delayed. After the accident, Croswell executives buried the internal bulletin and blamed the service contractor. My father. Arthur Cross had been chairman then. He told himself legal was handling it. He told himself protecting the company protected thousands of jobs. He told himself one ruined contractor was the cost of avoiding panic. But he had known. And for 15 years, he had kept the evidence locked away. Madeline looked at him like she no longer recognized her own blood. You let them destroy his father? Arthur closed his eyes. Yes. I stood very still. For years. I had imagined that if I ever found proof, I would shout. I would accuse. I would make someone feel 1 inch of what my father felt when people crossed the street to avoid him. But in that office, with my son waiting in the lobby and an old man breathing through an oxygen tube, anger arrived differently. quieter. Heavier. Arthur pushed the letter toward me. "I was going to announce a foundation tonight," he said. "For labor safety. For maintenance families. A coward's memorial. Probably." Then the elevator stopped. I looked at the papers. "Why bring these here?" "Because I wanted to tell Madeline after the gala." Madeline laughed once. Not because it was funny. Because the alternative was crying. "You were going to tell me our family fortune was protected by ruining an innocent man after we smiled for cameras?" Arthur did not answer. He did not need to. The office door opened. Ethan stood there with my tool roll hugged to his chest. A security guard tried to stop him, but he slipped around. "Dad?" I turned. His eyes moved from the oxygen tube to the documents to my face. "Are we in trouble?" I walked to him and crouched. "No. Did you fix the elevator?" "Yes." "Then why does everyone look sad?" I looked back at Arthur Cross. Then at Madeline. "Because sometimes fixing one thing shows you another thing that was broken longer." Ethan thought about that. Then he nodded as if this made perfect sense. Children accept truth faster than adults because they have not spent a lifetime decorating lies. Madeline stood slowly. She walked toward Ethan and lowered herself until she was at his height. "Ethan," she said, voice rough, "I owe your father an apology, and I owe you one too. I treated him badly." Ethan looked at me, then at her. "You thought he was just a repairman." Madeline flinched. "Yes. My dad says just is a word people use when they don't understand something." For the first time all night, I almost smiled. Madeline nodded. "Your dad is right." The gala did not happen as planned. The orchestra waited. The donors whispered. The cameras speculated. Then Madeline Cross walked onto the ballroom stage without notes. Her father sat in a chair beside her, pale but present. I stood in the back with Ethan, ready to leave. Then Madeline said my name. Not Nathan. Mr. Bennett. She told the room that the elevator emergency had revealed documents connected to a 15-year-old industrial failure. She said Cross Meridian had benefited from a false blame placed on Thomas Bennett. She said an independent review would begin immediately. She said the Labor Safety Foundation would not carry her family's name. It would carry his, the Thomas Bennett Maintenance Safety Fund. My knees almost gave. Ethan reached for my hand. The story broke the next morning. Old Crosswell-Lambert cover-up exposed after elevator failure at Ashford Grand. Within 2 weeks, Cross Meridian agreed to a public correction of the 2009 record. My father's name was cleared. Families of the warehouse accident received new settlements. Former Crosswell executives were called for inquiry. Madeline removed 3 facilities directors who had continued hiding old lift records. And Arthur Cross gave 1 interview. Only 1. In it, he said, Thomas Bennett told the truth. I did not. That is the difference between the man I was and the man I should have been. I watched that interview alone in my shop. Then I closed the laptop and sat in the silence. I had waited 15 years to hear someone say my father was right. When it finally came, it did not heal everything. It only opened the door. Healing still had to walk through. A month later, Madeline came to the shop. No cameras. No assistant. No silver dress. She wore jeans, a dark coat, and carried Ethan's cardboard rocket. I had forgotten it at the hotel. She placed it on the counter. I thought he might want this back. Ethan was at school. I wiped my hands on a rag. Thank you. She looked around the shop. At the old tools, the lift, the framed photograph of my father on the wall. He looks like you, she said. I look like him. That sounds different. It is. She nodded slowly. Then she placed an envelope beside the rocket. Inside was a copy of the public correction. Signed. Stamped. Permanent. No settlement language. No legal fog. Just the truth. Thomas Bennett was not responsible for the 2009 Croswell-Lambert brake failure. I stared at it for a long time. Madeline said, I cannot give back what your family lost. No. But I can stop pretending we did not take it. That was the first honest thing anyone from her family had ever said to me. I folded the document carefully. Later that afternoon, I picked Ethan up from school. He ran out wearing one shoe untied, backpack half open, hair sticking up as if he had argued with the wind and lost. When we got home, I gave him the rocket. His face lit up. She brought it back? Yes. Did she use the front door? I laughed. She did. Good. That night, Ethan and I placed my father's corrected record beside his photograph. Ethan stood on a chair to reach the shelf. He adjusted the frame twice. Then he asked, was Grandpa sad because people lied? Yes. Is he still sad now? I looked at the photograph. My father in his work shirt. Hands crossed. Eyes tired but clear. I don't know, I said. But I think he would be glad the truth finally found its way home. Ethan leaned against me. Dad? Yeah? You are not just a repairman. I put my arm around him. No, I said, and neither was he. 3 months later, Bennett Lift and Lock moved to a bigger shop. Not because of charity. Because the city finally started hiring us again. Because the name Bennett no longer carried a lie. Because truth, once repaired, can hold weight. Madeline hired independent union inspectors for every old elevator her company owned. She visited the first safety training herself. Not to speak. To listen. Arthur Cross died the following winter. Before he passed, he sent Ethan a small brass elevator key mounted in a wooden frame. On the plaque were 6 words. For the boy who carried the tools. Ethan keeps it above his desk, next to the repaired cardboard rocket. People ask me sometimes if I forgave Arthur Cross. I tell them forgiveness is not a receipt you hand someone after they pay what they owe. Sometimes forgiveness is only the decision not to let their failure become your entire inheritance. My father left me more than a ruined name. He left me hands that could fix things. He left me patience. He left me the stubborn belief that truth matters even when it arrives late. And he left me a son who now walks into hotels through the front door because he knows his father belongs anywhere the work is needed. That is enough. So, if you ever see a man in a work jacket standing in a lobby full of people who think they are above him, look twice. He may be there to fix the elevator. He may be there to save a life. Or he may be carrying the truth that everyone else spent years trying to bury. And if someone tells him to use the service entrance, remember this. The front door was never built only for the people in expensive shoes. Sometimes it opens for the person with the tools. Sometimes it opens for the person with the proof. And sometimes, if justice is patient enough, it opens for the son of the man they blamed.